Good evening, and we back. Welcome to season 2 of the Pack Homer podcast. Here with my best pals, Adam and Wesley. We survived to see season 2. I think this is like episode number 23 for us now. We're going to get into a little 2025 roster preview. But before we get started, what you fellas been up to? It's been a long time. You guys are talking about your microphones, trying to find those, and your headphones, and your computer. What's up? We'll go with you first, Wes. How are you making it through this NC State fall and winter sports season?
It's been a long fall and a tough start to the winter, to be honest.
Adam?
Yeah, it's we specifically related to basketball. I made the comment in the spring that I was fine with going ahead and pushing the chips in if it meant the run that we had. So I think the toll is being collected on that now. So it's not very fun. Just makes me that much more excited for baseball season, though. Excited to look forward to a new sport coming on. Season starting up.
I made the mistake of I was a little bit excited to go to the Texas NC State game in Raleigh, and then I think when Texas jumped out 10-0, I remember why I don't go to Raleigh anymore during weekdays.
I told Wesley. I think I told both of y'all. I've been to about 4 or 5 basketball games now. I was actually at that Texas game with Wesley, but I was at a basketball game walking through the concourse, and one of our 62 loyal listeners tapped me on the shoulder. And so we need to get Wesley. Y'all need to get the podcast going soon, because I was like, what do you mean? I said, we'll get started soon. I said, we ain't got a whole lot to talk about right now. And they said, we need Wesley to come back on and save basketball season. Because they said last year when Wesley went on his basketball rant is when we started to play good. But we're not going to do that tonight.
No, but they are unwatchable.
It's rough.
It's pitiful. It is just absolutely pitiful.
We can't score. Anyway, let's talk about something better. Let's talk about our 2025 roster here. We got a lot of new faces. I think I read today that we have, 20 new faces on our baseball roster. I think probably about 75% of our offensive production from last year's gone. Eli Serrano, Amac, of course, Butterworth, Cozart, Pennington. So a big part of our lineup will be fresh faces this year. So I figure that's a good place to start. What do you guys think about this lineup? I think from what let's just talk offensively first. But from some of the folks I've talked with close to the program, they're like, "Are we going to hit?" What do you guys think? I mean, I think coming back, popping the lineup. I mean, outside of Sosa, and you hope Hogue gets healthy, we got a lot of pieces to fill in.
Yeah, I think for us, I think that's one of the one of the beauties of the portal, right? That we really don't know. And I think last year, as we were looking at the start of spring and what we were going to look like from offensive production. I mean, Amax last year at ECU, he hit 258, right? So, and Pennington was a good player, but nothing like he performed at NC State. So I think, for me, I trust Coach Hart and his ability to get players to see and hit the ball. And, I think there's some talent there. So, I think when we look at it from the end of last season, like how in the world are we going to replace those guys? But, I don't think that as we went into 2024, we thought we were going to be an offensive juggernaut either.
Yeah, I agree. If we go around the infield first, actually, I like both of the guys offensively that we have at catcher. I mean, I think Sosa last year, we kind of were hard on Alex a little bit. In the middle of the year because he was such a highly regarded, highly recruited guy. And he got mono. And he I think he wasn't in like a 1 for 37 slump or or something like that in the middle of the year.
Might have been over.
It might have been over.
Yeah, it was long.
It was a long one. And hats off to Coach Hart and Coach Avent to keep running him out there every day. He DH'd a lot and, really, really struggled there in the middle of the year. But he looked like a big-time hitter by the time the postseason came around. You could see what the hype was about as we got later in the year and went on that postseason run. But, him and Drew Lanphier are both guys I think that I trust to hit. If you go over to first base, it's going to be two names that probably not many of our listeners will be familiar with unless they're following it every day. But Matt Ossenfort, I think is how you pronounce it. And guys, forgive us for any of this tonight because we probably going to mispronounce some names. We got so many new ones. But Matt Ossenfort and Chris McHugh are both guys. I think one of them is going to DH and one of them is going to play first base, and probably whoever I guess plays defensively better is going to be the one at first base, and the other one I kind of expect to DH right now. Second base is, I feel like, going to be Luke Nixon. I mean, you think that's probably pretty set in stone right now. And then you go over to shortstop. We picked up a really good player in the portal from San Diego, Justin. Is it DeCriscio or DeCrisco? How do you pronounce it? Wes, you want to give it a
first one?
Jeff?
DeCriscio.
DeCrisco.
All right, Justin, we apologize if we butchered your name, but I think it's going to be Justin DeCrisco, and he's a really good defensive shortstop. I think he fielded above 950 last year at San Diego. He's got a lot of experience. He'll be a senior. And then at third base, I think third base is probably a little bit up in the air right now. If you look at our scrimmages this year, we played Hebner over at third. Hebner obviously can play second base too. And then the name that didn't appear in any of the scrimmages is this one Jaros or Yaros? Ryan Jaros from the Georgia Tech transfer.
Jaros.
We're going with Jaros. And he's a highly recruited kid out of high school and got on the field last year as a true freshman before he got hurt. I think he had labrum surgery. So what do you guys think, when you talk about that group of names that are unproven, do you think we're going to see a lot of musical chairs in the beginning of the year until we kind of try to find the right mesh? Or do you think that some of those names, I mean, you feel like Nixon and DeCriscio are going to play every single day? Outside of those two, I mean, you feel like Sosa's going to play every day. What do you got? I think the corners are kind of a big question mark right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the VCU kid, McHugh, the first baseman last year, I'm excited to see him. Tall kid. We've had a couple of not tall, traditional height first baseman. The kid, he started 53 games at VCU and had a 995 fielding percentage. So must have been pretty solid defensively to put up those kind of stats. And then I think he was he was a freshman. His first series was against us last year. And I think he was 4 for 11, drove in 3 or 4 as well. So, I mean, I'm excited to see him, another year under his belt, another fall under his belt. So, yeah, but I agree. The corners to me are more the question. It seems like we got some good options though. And then, excited obviously about the guys the guys we got catching both of them. So I think we're pretty solid shape there, but I feel like they'll have a pretty good idea. The staff will have a pretty good idea about who they want to run out there. And, they're pretty consistent about sticking with the guys that they believe that are going to give us the best shot.
And Jaros, if you look at him from the kid that transferred in from Georgia Tech, he was hitting 343 last year at Georgia Tech. He only had 35 at bats before he got hurt, but he had some pop, hit 4 doubles, hit a home run for him. And he's actually from Cranford, New Jersey, which is somehow become a pipeline for the Wolfpack. We like to keep some folks on the team from Cranford. So, I think that what happens with Hebner, I think, will be interesting. I think he's a guy that is probably going to play in 35 or 40 games if he doesn't, whittle his way in there and become an everyday player for us. But how they kind of handle the corners of the infield early in the year, I think will be interesting. And if you look to the outfield, I think it's the same way. There's just so many unknowns. When you look at a team that really, I mean, you could call Sosa an everyday guy last year, but he didn't catch. I mean, Cozart caught, pretty much every inning, especially down the stretch. And then, you look at Nixon. Nixon played every day, but Nixon played the first half of the season at second base. And then he moved to the outfield after Josh Hogue got hurt. So if we go to the outfield now and talk about some of these new names, I think in left field, in both of the scrimmages, you had Braden Frostman start, who's a junior transfer. And then in center field, we got a big time recruit in Tyler Head, who, is highly sought after, but he's a true freshman. And then we have a transfer, Jet Gilliam, who I think played pretty well in the fall, who's probably going to fight with him. And then in right field, you got Hogue. And then the kid I'm really excited about, and I don't know that he's played enough meaningful innings of Division I baseball yet that we know what his career is going to look like. But Trent Lyons, the transfer from Ole Miss, I think he can play everywhere on the field. I think he's caught. I think he's played as an infielder. I think he's played in the outfield. And then too, so if you have Hogue and you have Lyons fighting it out in right field, then I think over in left field, Frostman and Bechtel. I don't know this for sure, but if you look at the roster now, I don't know if we're still going to have Bechtel throw any. But I think that the fact that he's an athletic kid, big kid, hit a home run last year in Hawaii, as played a little bit as a true freshman, but he's going to battle for innings in the outfield too. So the outfield is like the two deep in the outfield. There's a legit two deep at every single position, and then Coach Hart and Coach Avent, their jobs will be to figure out who to put on the field. And I don't think we really know who the three everyday guys are going to be March 1st. What do you guys think?
Yeah, to your point, I think you could just as well see Lyons at third base as anywhere.
Yeah, I mean he's played everywhere.
I think summer ball he was playing short most of the time during summer ball. I believe I recall that.
Did he play I think he played here in Holly Springs, didn't he, for the Salamanders this summer?
I think him and Bechtel were there.
So I think he called a little bit at Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken. I really think that he's played, all over the place. So an athletic guy. I think you look at college baseball now. There aren't a whole lot of guys that are just thumpers. There's a lot more athletes on the field, but in the outfield, I mean, we got a bunch of athletic guys. I don't know that he'll play in the outfield but I mean, Andrew Schaffner, another guy that played in the outfield last year down the stretch when he had to a couple times. Another, guy I think that's super athletic. But I think we kind of have a plethora of outfield options, and figuring out who the three are that are going to play every day will be pretty interesting to follow. And Head being a guy that we really were like kind of tensed up, hoping we didn't lose him in the draft. He's the number 48 overall prospect in the country out of high school. He's a big left-handed hitter.
How did Head play during the fall games?
I really don't know. It's so hard to get a box score from those fall games. I think McHugh hit a home run. I know Luke Nixon hit a home run in the fall. But as far as what they did against Duke and Elon, I don't really know the exact numbers because I couldn't find a box score anywhere. But I do know that when we went to Duke to play the first game, that Jet Gilliam started in center field, not Head. But then when we played against Elon, Head was the starter in center field. And, I think that, you can kind of take with a grain of salt those, exhibition game starting lineups. But there is some information that can be gleaned from that. I mean, you look at, like we said earlier, DeCrisco starting both games at shortstop, and Luke starting both games at second base. Frosman started both games in left field. Austin Fort and McHugh kind of swapped time at first base and DH. So I do think there's a little bit that you can glean from that. Lions actually played in right field both games against Duke and against Elon. So it'll be interesting to see how we put everything together and come up with an opening day lineup against Fordham in February. I think opening day is on Valentine's Day. Did you guys know that?
That's correct.
I told my wife that I might take her to the ball game for Valentine's Day. So I hope we get good weather. I think it's a 2:00 first pitch. I have to sneak out of work. Talking about the lineup, I think that offensively, I think we're probably scratching our heads as much as everybody else. I think that some of the folks that we talked to that are close to the program that had some concerns about how good we're going to swing it. I think one of the reasons that we really don't know how good we can hit the baseball is because I think our pitching staff is so dang good.
Yep.
And I think you go back to some of the better staffs we've had. Well, if your guys are going up against, like when Carlos was here, if when Carlos Rodon was here, he probably made a lot of guys not look good in the fall. And I think we have a pitching staff that has the ability to do that. So let's talk about that a little bit. And I think that the big discussion that is going to get tossed around between now and baseball season is what that opening weekend rotation will look like. I'll just throw out some names and then we'll talk about it. And I could be wrong. There may be someone I just totally miss on. But, if you look at our weekend rotation right now, our Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys, you feel like Dom is going to be in the rotation. Even last year when he struggled, he stayed in the rotation. The D1 baseball article that came out a couple of weeks ago about our fall report said that Dom looked the best he's ever looked, which is really dang exciting because he looked pretty good as a freshman.
Yeah.
So you think Dom, I think Cooper Consiglio and Ryan Marone probably would love the opportunity to be in that weekend rotation. I think they're going to be fighting for a spot possibly. Matt Willitson is a big question mark. Does he come back healthy? I think he's a guy that's thrown more Division I innings than anybody on our roster. And then the name that everybody wonders if he's going to crack his way into the rotation is Jacob Duden. So I gave you 5 names there between Marone, Consiglio, Dom, Willitson, and Duden. What do you guys think is going to shake out there?
I mean, I have no opinion to speculate. I think it's a great problem to have. A good mix of guys there. I mean, if we can, if Willitson comes back and is effective, man, what an addition he'll be to any, not just rotation, but just the team and locker room in general, the experience that guy has, right? And so, but between him and Don both, that's unbelievable to consider that you're going to have both of those guys, or could have both those guys. And you mentioned the praises for Dom in the fall. I think, man, that is super exciting, right? Because we know what he's capable of. The sophomore guys now, Duden, Consiglio, and Marone. I mean, man, that if those 3 guys were your weekend guys, you would feel good about it. I would. I think the fact that we got Dom and Willitson there, and it'd be interesting to see what they do with Willitson. Will he be a starter, or will he be a extended relief guy, kind of like Sam did at times when he came back? It's a good problem to have. And I think the other unknown is every year, it's somebody new that comes forward. Somebody that's not on our radar, or maybe not even on the coaching staff's radar early on, but something just clicks, and it'd be interesting to see who that's going to be for the pitching staff this year. We had several of those this past year, but excited for the staff. I mean, I think the point you made is these hitters going up against these guys in practice has got to be great experience for them. So I'm excited about watching the pitching staff.
I got a question for y'all, and I'll give you a half answer, and I'll let Wesley answer first, and I'll half give you my opinion to see what you guys think about it. But been a lot of talk on message boards and just from some of my Pack baseball friends about Jacob Duden being a starter, and I understand why that kid would want to start, why any kid would want to be a starter and be in the weekend rotation. But then on the other hand, I understand if you're Clint Chrysler, if you're Elliott Avent, like, guys, it was pretty special last year when you got through 6 innings and you had Jacob Duden and Derek Smith. It kind of reminded me so much of the right-handed edition of Chris Villeman. And, well, Chris Villeman and Evan Justice were righty-lefty, but, man, it was fun. Like, you got through 6 innings, and you feel like, Duden was kind of a wild card, whether he's going to get you 3 outs or 9 outs. But, like, when you go in there and you got a guy that can blow 98, and then you got Smith to come in to throw, 90-mile-an-hour sliders and 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and just shut the door from kind of 2 different looks. Duden being a long and lanky guy, D-Rock being a little more compact. Do you guys like Duden going to the rotation, or do you like that back end better with Duden and D-Rock? I'll go to you first, Wes.
I mean, I think with Duden and D-Rock, you got the best back end in the country, So for me, I like when you look at what we have from a group of starting pitchers, and I really feel like Marone had a really good freshman year last year. Maybe he didn't get some of the publicity, that some of the others got, but he had a really solid and consistent season. So when you look about how consistent he was, and you get Willison, back in the if Willison is back healthy, how consistent he's been for his entire career. And then, as we were just talking, we really want Dom to be in there. I mean, I just don't think it's not a necessity for where we're at. And, and of course, at the end of football season, tail end of football season, everybody's talking about NIL and transfers. So tip of the cap to Coach Chrysler and Coach Avent for being able to keep this bullpen, the whole pitching staff, the whole staff in place, because, last year we had plenty to say about, pitching rotations and Coach Chrysler throughout the season, but, look at how that turned out and look at the group that we have starting the season. So I think the entire coaching staff did a really good job. And obviously those guys are, the players believe in the development that's happening at NC State to bring all those guys back.
Adam, what do you think about that? Do you want Duden on the back end, or would you like to see him on Friday night?
I agree. I think there's likely, not the necessity. I think in today's world with, you think of back years ago, it's more about, stats and what have you done and that sort of thing as far as determining your draft stock, and certainly being a Friday night or, weekend starter adds to that resume. But I think, in today's world with the metrics and what the scouts are looking at, I think it doesn't matter when he gets in there, because they're going to know what he's surrounded by, or in the reasoning that he's not a potential a weekend starter. But again, I agree with Wes. I don't think we're going to have the necessity for it. I hope not. I would love to be able to see him in, the late inning guy, the setup guy for D-Rock. I mean, I think, man, he could really shine and make a big name for himself there. And, again, as we get late in the season and into the postseason, you need more starters. You need more innings from these guys, and when the tournaments roll around. So it'd be nice to have that as an option then. But I really hope that, some of these other pieces click like they did last year with Consiglio and Marone. Wesley mentioned it. Marone was an absolute stud. These true freshman kids coming in, and then the grind of a college schedule. And, now they've had a whole year to prepare and work on their nutrition and the weight room and that sort of thing, and really get set up for this coming up season. I think I'll look to see a lot of improvement in those guys from that standpoint. So I agree that it would be nice problem to have, or nice to see him as a starter, but I'm hoping that we don't have the need for it. I'm hoping that, he can kind of do the same role he did last year.
And you talk about the grind of a college season too. What was crazy about those freshmen last year is it felt like they got better. I mean, Consiglio at the end of the year, hell, I don't even know if he pitched after the regional. I don't know how much he pitched in postseason play. But that guy, man, he was at the tail end of so many big games, or toward the end of the year. Consiglio, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all. If we ran 3 lefties out there in our rotation. I think there's probably a little bit of hesitancy from your coaching staff to do that, because you kind of want to change up some things on the weekend where you don't go to go play Carolina one weekend and they see lefty, lefty, lefty as your 3 starters. But I mean, Marone, Consiglio, and Dom are 3 guys I think could be your weekend rotation. And then you have 2 hard righties out of the pen. We have more hard righties than that, by the way. We're going to talk about a couple more names here in a minute. But yeah, and then probably selfishly, I'd like to see Jacob Duden twice a weekend instead of once. It's just pretty exciting to watch a guy coming in throwing 99 and throwing a slider that nobody in America seemed to be able to hit the later we got in the last year. But that's going to be interesting to see. So to talk about some more names in that bullpen, we touched on D-Rock a little bit in his emergence last year as being a true shutdown guy of the pen. So Julian Peasel was a name that came in the offseason from UNC Greensboro. We kind of expected to maybe fight for a rotation spot. He, I believe, tore his ACL in the offseason. I think you can find on Instagram now. I think he had some pictures of surgery. So I don't think we're going to have him. We've mentioned Matt Williston. Don't really know where he's going to be. But we got some more arms in there. If you look at, I'm just going to read some names of guys that are going to contribute in some way. You had Jackson Lucas last year, freshman right-hander. You had Heath Andrews. I think Andrews threw it quite a bit this fall, and I think he was up and over in 95. He was up and over 95 mile an hour. And then Shane Van Dam is a name that it's hard to forget about how good he was before his injury last year. I don't think we know when he's going to be back. That injury happened around April. Is that right?
Florida State series.
So Van Dam's a name. Camden Wimbish, I think he struck out the side against Duke in the fall exhibition, but another guy I think that they feel like they're going to be able to get a lot of innings out of. And then Andrew Schaffner. I'm really excited to see where Schaffner fits in out of the pen. I mean, the guy's got unbelievable stuff. And who was it he came in late in the year last year and threw against, where I think he threw like 2 or 3 really good innings? Was it in the regional or
was it Wake? Maybe it was Wake.
It might have been Wake. I don't
Might
know.
have been Wake. He pitched 11.1 innings last year. Hitters were 238 against him, but yeah, it felt like he was even better than that. I agree. I think it was against Wake. I think that might be right.
And he runs it up there mid to upper 90s.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big Schaffner. I'm a big Schaffner guy. He's gonna be my guy for 2025.
That's your new pick to click.
Yeah.
Schaffner. It'd be cool if he could play both ways.
That would be awesome. I like him.
Schaffner a lot. He's got a little swagger about him.
Yeah, I like Schaffner. I like Schaffner a lot too.
The freshman, I don't really know a lot about. It's hard to say. Tristan Potts is a lefty. I think that threw against the.
Hey, it was he had his first save, pitched 3 scoreless, hitless innings of relief in the Georgia Super.
In the Georgia Super.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. He came in blowing it. What was the old boy that got drafted so high from there?
I was just trying to remember, thinking about Duden. coming in and shutting them down, but I can't remember that fella's name.
He did also. He pitched
Condon.
Condon. He pitched the inning in 2/3 with a strikeout against Wake as well.
Yeah.
There you go, Wesley. That's pretty good. So I think we're going to be able to get people out. And Chris Hart's teams always hit. I don't know if y'all saw that. Coach Hart was actually talking about hitting at there's a national clinic for high school and college coaches every year that just took place this past weekend. I think I saw Coach Avent tweeted something out about Coach Hart up there talking hitting. He was one of the speakers at that national coaching clinic this weekend. So you feel like we're going to hit. I'm really, really excited. I want to go back to Omaha really bad. But I think that unquestionably, I don't know if I felt this way in a long time, but I think going into the season that the strength of this roster is going to be our pitching staff. How do you guys feel? And then I'm going to ask you a couple of picks to click, a little preseason edition, and talk about a couple other things. We'll be off of here. What do you guys agree? Pitching's the strength of this roster?
I don't see it. I mean, with all the unknowns in the lineup, all the new pieces and so many returning pieces on the pitching staff, I think you gotta say pitching staff for sure.
Wes?
Yeah, for sure, pitching staff. I mean, you lost so much consistency last year with those, with Buttersworth and Amac and Pennington and Serrano, and Cozart. So I think this year that consistency is going to revert to the pitching staff.
Yeah, it almost feels like a dumb question to even ask. Yeah, I think I agree. All right. So before we go to our picks to click to finish it up, I had some quick hitters I wanted to bring in. I had some numbers. I don't know if you guys have seen now. I like the Doak, which has been going on for a couple of years now, but I guess through the fall that they track exit velos and pitching velo and spin rate. And I'm not going to get too deep into all that spin rate stuff, but I wanted to mention those and then pass out a few congratulations. Exit velos, fall exit velos. The highest exit velo of the fall was Chris McHugh at 113.1 mile an hour, which is, it seemed like for a while that. What? Go ahead.
That's Pennington area there.
I was about to say, it seemed like Pennington hit every ball that hard last year. He ground out at 110. Matt Osenfort at 111.4. Bechtel at 111.4. Drew Lamphere at 111.4. And then Frostman, who is, you mentioned earlier, played left field a lot this fall at 109.4. So there's some pop. You're talking about five guys there right around 110. And, Lamphere, who we're saying right now might be Sosa's backup at, flashing 111. So that's some pretty impressive numbers. And then pitching velo, going back to our pitchers, Jacob Duden topped out the roster this fall. Doesn't surprise anyone, I don't think, but 98.8 was his top velocity here in the fall. Camden Wimbush, the name I mentioned earlier, I think he struck out the side against Duke, 96.9. Andrew Schaffner at 96.1. Heath Andrews at 95.8. And Derek Smith at 94.7. I think we used to joke a little bit, guys, maybe before we even had this podcast, that it seemed like we'd always were running out of arms. That, we even picked on Matt a little bit. We love Matt Willardson, but, Matt's, usually hanging out 87 to 90. We're like, why don't we have five guys throwing 95 like, LSU? I think those five names I just mentioned are all going to play this year, and they're all 95 plus. That's pretty impressive. So anyway, thought I'd call that out. Some more quick hits for you. And some congratulations. Aaron Bates. You guys remember Aaron Bates in the red and white days? Aaron Bates is a World Series champion now. He's one of the hitting coaches with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Patrick Bailey. You guys know the Patrick Bailey news? I'm sure you do. He's now a Gold Glove winning catcher. We sat with Patrick Bailey last year at the baseball preseason dinner, which I hope they have. If there is a baseball preseason dinner, can someone email us? We will buy a table.
Man,
we will be there.
yeah, man. It's like it was like 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now last year, so I'm worried that they're not going to have it or not getting it put together.
I know. I was hoping to give some money and buy something to put on my wall. What'd you say,
maybe
Wes?
too much effort. It's too much effort.
we got to do something. We need it. Patrick Bailey, Gold Glove Award winner. Carlos Rodon was a starter in the World Series, who he, of course, lost to Aaron Bates' LA Dodgers. But congrats to Carlos for starting in the World Series. That's a pretty impressive feat, pretty cool. And then D1 Baseball, I don't know if you guys saw in the offseason, put out a list of, they ranked, I think, the top 100 programs in America. Now, this was not a preseason ranking. This was not a, who won the College World Series last year. It was the ranking. NC State, by the way, finished number 6 in the country last year in D1's final poll. I don't know if we ever got to mention that on our podcast at the end of the year. But anyway, of the 100 best programs in the country, and that's talking more about, stability of the program, continued success. NC State was ranked the number 14 Division I baseball program in the country, which is pretty cool. And it's only gone up over the last 5 years or so. So, hopefully soon we crack the top 10. You'd think if we'd make another return to Omaha this year, we might do that. So
being that our first series this year is a tournament sponsored by, not our first games, but after the opening, I guess, Fordham, but we got the tournament is sponsored by D1 Baseball, or it's in conjunction with D1 Baseball or whatever. We need to hem those guys up, and maybe if we could get them to create a poll of programs that do more with less, we would be freaking number 1 in the country. So the fact that we're 14 overall, and what we have maybe the 10th best facilities in the Carolinas.
In the Carolinas. I thought you were about to say the ACC. I was like, no.
Yeah, in the Carolinas. I think Wake Tech has probably as better facilities than we have.
I'm not sure if Boo knows how to get to Doak. I'm not sure if he can, if he's ever made his way. He certainly likes to take credit when they go to Omaha, but I'm not sure if he's ever been to Doak, because it's an embarrassment, for what, I can remember this past summer, after a few Coors Lights, you have to use the restroom, and the South Carolina people were just dogging us, like, what kind of cracker box stadium do you guys play in? And it's, I don't know. In my opinion, Steve Smith's wrong and Dave Doran's wrong. NC State's a baseball school because, we've seen what's happened there when the resources are gone to football. So hopefully eventually, and I'm still wondering what, when I buy season tickets, where that extra $400 is going every year. Is the Whoopback Club updated you guys on like where the renovations are? Like, has there been any updates on that?
All I know is that they did stick an excavator in the ground, I think, and they opened up. Didn't they get the temporary batting cages opened or something? I don't know. I saw a little something, but yeah,
it might be nicer than what we had. Elliot deserves better. My God, we're preaching to the choir. I know if you're a Wolfpack baseball listener, but Wesley, I was standing in that line at the regional too, and my God, it's like
I get an email every week from UNCW on all the renovations they're doing their baseball stadium, and every year when we play UNCW, go to their ballpark, they got a beer garden. It's just, they got a lot going on. I think, I'm not sure what we have, but we win ball games. So that's really all that really matters, I guess, at the end of the day. But how long is that sustainable? Is that sustainable forever? I don't know. Avent continues to defy the odds, and the Cow's point, or Adam's point, I guess, doing more with less. They continue to do more with less, and he continues to find guys that fit the culture of I don't know. Now with this NIL age, I don't know if it's a university or I think it's just specifically to the baseball team. These guys aren't driving, cars with 30-inch wheels on them. They're there to play baseball. So, that's where I'm at right now.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Episode 1 of season 2. Took Wesley that long.
And it took him like 35 minutes into the pod. I had to tell everybody, don't turn the thing off when we're going through the boring roster overview. I know that might bore you to death, but, if you listen long enough, Wesley's going to ask you, why the hell he's got to wait 30 minutes to go to the bathroom at a regional.
Well, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. It's just bad time right now, man. It's tough times in Pack Nation.
Did you get worse baseball tickets this year, Wesley, like I did? I went up like 1,000 spots in the Wolfpack Club. My seats got worse. All the fair weather fans have made their way out the dirt.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, that
is good. That's good.
That's 1,000% event and what he does with the program and overperforming. It's nice to have a program that overperforms and not a program that, is supposed to be, a potential playoff team that can't beat East Carolina. That's much rather be where Avent's at.
Oh, boy. All right. Before we close this thing out and we get Wesley riled up anymore, picks to click. Let's go offensively first. Your offensive pick to click. And now, if you want to pick a guy that played last year, that is 100% okay. But, we're not going to call it clicking if the guy hit 270 last year and he hits 280 this year. What y'all got? We'll start with Adam, and then we'll go to Wesley, and I'll go last on this one, and I'll go first pitching. I got a good eyes for pitchers, if y'all don't know.
Man.
Yeah, I called D-Rock.
Yeah, you did. Man, I think there's just so many ways to go here. I'm really excited about Alex Hosa. Getting a chance to start catching. The kid never was truly healthy or recovered, I felt like last year. Somebody, just for the sake of doing it, I'm just going to go with somebody who we hadn't seen before. I think just reading the perfect game stuff and all the stuff, coming out of Florida that I've seen on Ty Head, it's just really easy to be excited about that guy joining your program, joining your lineup. I'm gonna go with him. I'm just gonna pick somebody different just for the sake of not picking somebody that was on the team last year. Not that I don't think that all the these other guys are going to outperform him. I just feel like he's the one that I'm really excited to see. 6'3".
He looks like a big leaguer.
Comes from a big time athletic family. I think his sister played volleyball at Arkansas. Got another brother that played baseball at Austin Peay. Mom and dad were athletes too, I think. So, has the pedigree to some extent. Just really excited about watching him. So I'm gonna pick Ty Head.
Wesley?
Yeah, I think sometimes we can get carried away by, some of these transfers coming in. And I think that sometimes we got to settle down and realize we got some really good guys in the dugout, already. And I think Lamphere is a name that's been consistent. And I think another year in the program, and to Adam's point of, strength training, nutrition, bigger, stronger, faster. So I think Lamphere is going to be an offensive, asset for us. And then of course we've all three been big on Bechtel. You've already talked about Bechtel, and they don't make them. Everybody's not that size. So I think that when it clicks, it's going to click for him. And but from a consistency standpoint, really like Lamphere and what he brings to the table.
All right, well, I'm gonna go against the grain on that, Wesley, with the picking a new guy. I'm gonna pick our shortstop. Last year I thought when we brought in Brandon Butterworth that, we didn't really know what we'd get out of him offensively. Obviously not a ginormous guy. And not that he didn't hit 20 home runs, but hit a lot of balls on the nose. He had some big shots, hit a walk-off bomb against UNC. And I kind of think that you look at Justin DeCrisco, however we say it. Sorry, Justin. Hope you follow the pod on at Pack Homer Pod on Instagram and X. But Justin, I think that we're talking about a senior, a guy that's, probably 22, 23 years old, that, is already an elite defender, hit over 300 last year at San Diego. I think last year he hit 3 home runs, and I think he hit 13 or 14 doubles. When you start talking about 18-year-olds and you start talking about 23-year-olds, well, 23-year-olds are grown men. There's 23-year-olds in the big leagues. And I feel like Justin is going to show up here in Raleigh, and he's going to take advantage of a hitter's ballpark. And I think he's going to put up some numbers for us that, maybe we didn't necessarily expect going into the season. So I'm going to pick Justin DeCrisco, our starting shortstop. All right. To the mound, I said I'd go first, and then we'll go backwards this time. We'll go me, then Wesley, then Adam. On the mound, I'm going to go with – I'll let you get – I think I might have the same one in mind as a couple of you guys. I'm going to pick maybe my 1A or 1B. I'm going to pick Cooper Consiglio. I just really, really liked how Coop pitched down the stretch last year. He's got some competitiveness in him that you could just see come out sometime in big moments. Obviously, he's pitched in some big ball games. And this is something I mean as certainly a compliment. He's got some dog in him. I can just, you could just tell watching him play. I think when you're a freshman, it's hard sometimes to, be a loud voice in the locker room. But I think now he's got, some notches on his belt where he's gone out and slayed the Dragons a few times. I think Cooper Consiglio is going to have a huge year for us. Wesley?
Yeah, I mean, back to earlier, I think Marone's going to have a big chip on his shoulder. I don't think he was selected to be on the Team USA team, and several other of our guys did. So I think that puts a chip on your shoulder, and I'm sure that he's going to have the right mind. He's had the right mindset the entire offseason. And again, Adam was quick to the draw on Schaffner, but I like Schaffner too. So he would be my 1B there. I think Schaffner, and of course, whether maybe that's on the mound, maybe that's at the plate, maybe it's on the base pass, I don't know. But I think, anytime you got a multi-tool guy like Schaffner, he's going to help us. He's going to help us win ball games.
All right.
Oh man. God, I'm really excited to see year 2 of Jacob Duden. We all went the sophomore route there. Consiglio, Marone, and Duden. I mean, I would say Duden. The other one that I'm excited. But Duden is. I just think the stuff that he has is just so electric. I mean, that slider. I mean, running that thing up there in the 90s is just unreal. So I'm excited to see that again. I think a lot of potential. If he's able to locate more consistently and particularly and have some longer outings and potentially start some games, whatever it may be, I think he could draw a lot of attention to himself, and he just seems to really shine in the moment. So I'm excited to see year 2 of Jacob Duden. The other one that I would say, y'all kind of had a 1B is, I mean, I'm the other one again. Another sophomore is Jackson Lucas. I mean, we saw him last year, be inconsistent at times, but the kid's got a lot of heart. Big Wolfpack guy. Loves the team, loves the program. You got to really feel like that's a guy who really put in a lot of work to improve his skill set. So excited to see him too. I'm excited to see Jackson Lucas get a shot again.
Yeah, I mean, Duden, Duden's one of those guys, and you hate to put so much pressure on these kids because we talked about our 22, 23-year-old shortstop, but they're still kids, guys. But Duden's a guy you hate to put so much pressure on because he knows it, he feels it. He probably walks around with it every day. That guy, it's like hard not to imagine that if he develops like he has the ability to do and he stays healthy, he like screams first round draft pick. Like he just like that's what they look like. They're they throw 98 and they make guys fall down swinging at their off speed stuff. I mean, he's almost a little Paul Skeenish. That body he's got and the way the ball comes out of his hand. But yeah, I mean it's exciting. I think all those arms we just mentioned are exciting. One more question for you now. We're going to do a little. We picked a click. That's more of a who do we really think is going to bust onto the scene and tote the load or tote a heavier load than they did last year. How about your offensive and defensive or offensive and pitching MVP?
Oh God.
Oh God. Anybody want to take a stab at that one? I'll go first offensively, and I'll let you guys go. I think Luke Nixon is about to become a college baseball fan household name. Just the way he plays the game, his pedigree. He's Trot Nixon's son. Everybody knows that listens to this, I'm sure. He played over 50 ball games last year as a freshman. He runs the bases like a wild man. He's beginning to hit for a little more pop. I mean, he's growing into a body he's not a big guy. But he's got, they call guys like him, fast twitch. He's got a lot of that fast twitch in him. He's 162 pounds, but, every now and then runs into one and hits it 400 feet. I think that Luke Nixon is going to be that guy. He's going to set the table. He's going to hit gaps. He's going to steal bags. I like Luke Nixon to kind of be the straw that stirs the drink. Wesley?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Sosa on that. I mean, I totally agree with everything you're saying about Luke. I think he led the team in stolen bases last year, so he's going to make some noise when he gets on base. And I think he might have led the team with sacrifice bunts too. So he's definitely going to make some noise. But I think I don't want any of our listeners to underestimate how bad mono is. When I said it in a previous episode, I had mono when I was in college, and it is rough and it takes months to recover. And I'm 1,000% convinced that Sosa wasn't recovered. Even when he hit that, was it Sosa that hit the moonshot against Georgia, right? Was it Sosa or is that
was Sosa?
Yeah, Solano hit one too, a moonshot.
Yeah, they both hit the moonshots. But regardless, he still wasn't 100% at the end of that season. Mono is not really something that it's just it takes a long time to get over. So, fully confident he's 100% going into this spring. And I think from an offensive output, it's going to be hard for anyone else on the team to put up bigger numbers than what I speculate he will.
Adam?
This is hard. I was going to pick Sosa as well. This is a very rehearsed program here. I would say if we get back a healthy version of Josh Hogue, I mean, he's a guy. He's a guy that I really liked last year. I was looking at his stats for the year last year. He hit 341 through I think like 37 games, or 314 through 37 games. But if you look, very few games where he didn't have a hit. He's just very consistent. And I feel like, especially at the time when we lost him, he was just really a real special part of our lineup. So given Sosa's off the board, I would say a healthy version of Josh Hogue. Again, he's got a tremendous injury to come back from. But, hopefully, especially when we get into conference play, I'm hoping that's a guy that's back and healthy and And if he is, he will be important part of the lineup, I'm sure.
All right, arm wise, who wants to go first? I'm not going first again.
Man, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go first and take Ryan Marone to the point that Wesley made earlier. I think he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, likely due to being behind Consiglio and Duden as far as recognition, from a media standpoint, if you will. But man, I think he's got the chance to. I mean, the guy just gritty, got it done, put up some great numbers against some really good teams last year. I think from a statistic standpoint, as far as what you're talking about from being an MVP of the staff or what have you, I think it can very well be Ryan Marone.
Wesley?
Yeah, I mean, I like Marone and I like Dom for the same reasons that Adam just said. Both have, both I think feel like they have something to prove. And I know Cal earlier you were talking about the expectations that might be that not might that are on Duden this year. And I think a lot of those expectations maybe were tough on Dom last year. That this year he's got a whole new year to prove what he can do and how good of a ball player he is. So I like Marone and Dom from a pitching standpoint. It doesn't mean I don't like Derek Smith and Dude and all these other guys too, right?
I know. This is hard. This is hard. This is hard. This is hard and not fair. Yeah.
I mean, these guys are all really good pitchers, and I think we're just saying at least for me, who's going to surprise some people that maybe don't follow, Pac baseball as closely as we do. I think those guys are going to really surprise some people this year.
Yeah, you guys know D-Rock. That's my guy. I think he's going to have a huge year, but he was not my pick as the MVP. You talk about a chip on your shoulder. Can you have a larger chip on your shoulder right now than Dom Fritton?
No.
Dom Fritton was, I think, a freshman All-American. He was who we all thought was going to be the most valuable pitcher on our staff. Everybody, and I say this saying that Dom got down on himself more than any of us did. We obviously still very supportive of Dom, could see the talent in Dom. But last year, a lot of folks down on Dom. We said multiple times maybe we moved Dom to the bullpen. We had that discussion on multiple podcasts. But Dom Fritton's a dude. I mean, you look at that guy in uniform, he looks like, when you say, what does God make a guy look, a baseball player look like? They look like Dom Fritton. And, he's heard it for a year. He went into the off season knowing that he wasn't, as good a version of himself as he could have been last year. I think Dom is out to improve his draft stock. Everybody thought Dom was going in the draft last year. Didn't get picked up, maybe because, maybe you wanted to go a little earlier. I mean, I think a lot of people would have took a flyer on Dom in the 17th or 18th round. But, I think that Dom Fritton has some unfinished business. We're lucky to have him back a third year. As down on him as, maybe we got at times last year when we found out that he was going to come back and be on this baseball team this year. All three of us were pretty damn excited. So I think Dom is going to come out this year and take care of some unfinished business. So I'll go with Dom as well. All right. I think we've chatted enough. One last thing. We're about to wrap it up. One last thing before we go. The Wolfpack are playing in, what is the name of this thing? You mentioned it earlier, Adam. It's like the Division I baseball.
I don't know. The D1 baseball.
Jacksonville.
Yep.
Whatever it's called.
It's in Jacksonville, Florida. We're playing the Division I baseball tournament, something. Anyway, it's a preseason tournament. The Pack is playing against, it's the Jacks Baseball College Classic, or College Baseball Classic. The Pack's playing Ohio State on Friday, Alabama on Saturday, and Coastal Carolina on Sunday. The Pack Homer Pod, we have a box behind home plate a suite behind home plate for the Saturday games. There'll be 2 ball games that day. We play Alabama at 4 p.m. You guys keep tuning in. On our next episode, we're going to give away 2 tickets.
I haven't told my wife I'm going yet, so this is not great.
She ain't listening, and if she is listening, she ain't tuned in an hour. So, Pack Homer Podcast is going to give away 2 tickets to come hang out with us. I think we're going to have about 20, 25 folks there for the 2 ball games that Saturday. We're going to give away 2 tickets to come hang out with us. You have to get yourself there, of course. The Pack Homer Podcast is not a lucrative venture. But if you can get yourself to Jacksonville, Florida, we'll give you some details in our next pod on how you can come to the games on us and hang out with us that Saturday when we play Alabama. So looking forward to our next pod. We'll maybe share some news on what we got. We're trying to put a couple of things together, no firm details, but we'll talk to you soon. Any final words, boys?
I mean, maybe if nobody's going to put together, one of the, whatever it was called, a celebration last year. I mean, maybe that's only a celebration for I guess they said it was for the 21 College World Series team. Maybe we should do something if nobody's going to put something together, which would be mind blowing to me, because as I recall, I don't know, maybe I can't remember correctly, but it was full. I mean, it was a full house. The food was great. It was a great night. We had a really good time. I'm not sure why we wouldn't try to replicate something like that every year. But maybe it's coming. Maybe we're going to get the email tomorrow, and maybe it'll come with the email from the Wolfpack Club on the facilities update at the same time.
I think Wesley's taken enough shots thus far, so I say we sign off for now.
All right, we have a celebratory tailgate if nothing else. In
there you go.
Talk soon.